Dating during the apocalypse. That's exactly what Eternights on the Switch throws at you, blending action RPG combat with romance or friendship and a ticking clock. Now with clear Persona influences, does it pull it off? Let's find out. So if you enjoyed this video today, do me a favour, subscribe, it helps up the channel a huge amount. So imagine this, you're casually swiping through a dating app, hanging out with friends, when out of nowhere, boom, an explosion rocks the city, and in a split second, the world, it goes from normal to full-on apocalypse. Most of the population, now creepy, lethal monsters with just, I guess, one goal apparently, to hunt you down. Now at first, our characters, they're smart. It's all about hiding out, laying low, waiting for things to calm down. But soon, reality hits. There is no safety in staying put. So the new plan, head to a fortified location with rumoured military support and hope for the best. Then, however, things just take an even crazier turn. Enter a mysterious woman during this journey. She shows up out of nowhere, she claims you're the chosen one. Naturally, you're suspicious of this, but before you can even react, she slices off your arm. And yes, you heard that right. Now, when it seems like at this point things can't really get any worse, your arm actually regenerates, except now it's a glowing sword. So I guess she wasn't totally wrong, just a little too late to stop your transformation. But I mean, I don't know if I have to say this here, but this game is absolutely just wild with its narrative. But now at this point, look, you've got a shiny new power and apparently a massive mission. That is to team up with a ragtag group of survivors, jump aboard a train, because yes, that's going to be your mobile base, and you need to set off to take down a key target that could stop this chaos. Along the journey, expect to bond with your squad, take down enemies, and maybe, just maybe, find time for a little romance. It's a wild ride from start to finish, blending action and romance in a world gone mad, and while again the premise is just off the rails, it absolutely works. The best part? The choice to engage with the dating aspect, it's really all yours, and with such a likeable cast, I actually found it really hard not to get sucked in. So Eternights revolves around two core gameplay elements, dungeon exploration and relationship building aboard your train. At its heart, it's an action RPG with real-time combat that keeps you on your toes. Early on, it kind of feels like a standard hack and slash even, but as you do get deeper into the game, it opens up into a more tactical experience, you know, learning to dodge, counter, timing your attacks, just to add extra damage. It's all that strategy that I didn't initially expect, but it's really welcome when it does appear. Also, pulling off a well-timed dodge, it gives you a time-slowing effect that feels incredibly satisfying. Two standout abilities then in your combat repertoire, Death Blow and Blast skills. Now, Death Blow, that's triggered through a quick time event after you land several successful hits, while Blast skills need elemental attacks to be charged up before they are unleashed. Now, once you do nail the timing of these moves, you can dish out some serious damage, which is especially useful when the bosses start rolling in. I do want to talk about those bosses as well. They are a real step up from the regular enemies. The game's not actually that easy, honestly, though there are difficulty options, but the bosses will force you to come prepared with the right strategies and also the right character builds. Combat aside, then progression in Eternights is tied to a skill tree that evolves as you level up and defeat enemies. Black Essence is the currency here, dropped by enemies or hidden in dungeons, and it will let you unlock new abilities. Then there's also White Essence, which you can only get by leveling up your relationships with your companions that will then proceed to unlock their unique abilities. So actually, building these different friendships with your team actually becomes essential, not just for the story, but for the combat as well. And I really like the fact they did that. It's not just the usual kind of here's some friendship or romance options tapped on the side if you want them. You very much should take part in them here. And this team as well, the ones you'll be conversing with, they bring a lot to the table, from healing abilities to elemental powers, think fire and ice. These skills become vital when you're up against enemies with those different barriers that require specific attacks to break them. The elemental fist mechanic as well. This is an absolute game changer. You charge your power gauge through combat, and when it's full, you'll unleash these elemental fists just to devastate enemies. And it's by far, I did it over and over again, and I just loved it every single time. When it comes to the dungeon design, then it's mostly linear with the occasional split path to explore. You will run into basic puzzles, so button presses, dodging security cameras, floor traps, but I don't expect to hear anything too mind-bending. Honestly, I actually found myself more interested in progressing the story than combing through every nook and cranny in these locations. I think a few more secrets hidden around the dungeons wouldn't have hurt. Here though, as well, is where the Persona influence comes in strong with the dungeons. The game actually operates on a day and night cycle, with actions costing you in-game time. So dungeons are only available during the day, so you'll need to plan your moves carefully. Now luckily I never felt too pressured for time, but I do imagine it's a different story on harder difficulties or in New Game Plus modes. The calendar system just adds a layer of tension, but it's definitely manageable. And yeah, for example, the first dungeon, they give you 5 days to overcome it, so you really want to kind of balance how you are approaching these different areas. I do then want to quickly touch on the relationship building mechanics again as well, because it is a big element here. So you can pursue romantic relationships or just remain friends with your team, and interacting with characters, as I said, it's going to unlock those new skills for combat, so you should definitely do it. I'm going to say it's fun at first, but after a while, the conversations, particularly towards the end game, they start to feel repetitive. Same with the interactions, you start saying the same thing over and over. And then there's activities like scavenger hunts and minigames. It's a nice idea, but they don't offer any variety, and they just feel like filler that's, quite frankly, a little bit boring, unfortunately. On the flip side of that, though, there are something called mission requests, and these definitely help make up for these shortcomings. These side quests take you to new locations, and they throw waves of enemies at you, but at the same time, you're having conversations with your crew, and it fleshes out the backstory of your crew. It's in these moments that it really leans into its strengths, action-packed combat, but with plenty of character interactions along the way, and I think for most who play this game, those will absolutely be a highlight. So yeah, in the end, from a gameplay perspective, despite some repetitive elements, I don't want to lie about that, it's very much how I feel. I had way more fun with this game than I expected. The mix of dungeon crawling, combat, and relationship building honestly felt unique, and I genuinely got attached to some of these characters. The endgame scenes could have used more variety. As I said, a lot of repetitive dialogue towards the last few hours, and it is only a 11-hour or so journey to begin with, but the action kept me hooked, characters intrigued, and yeah, I'm actually excited now to see what this studio does next. So now regarding the performance, and I had a pretty good idea of what to expect going in. I actually originally played Eternights on PlayStation 5. If you are curious about that version, you can check out my review below. But as for the Switch build, I have to say I'm really impressed. It runs smoothly, feels incredibly responsive, and everything that made the original game shine, in my opinion, is still intact. The only small adjustment I had to make was tweaking the camera sensitivity in the options, something I don't remember needing to do on the PS5. But once that was sorted, the game felt just as polished, and yeah, overall I think it's a great port, and if Switch is your platform of choice, you are in here for the full experience. When it comes to the visuals then, it definitely pulls you in with these great character models and quite intense action sequences. Enemy designs are creative, boss battles, especially the huge screen filling ones, they stand out, and the user interface clean and easy to navigate, making things straightforward. Now the train acting as your hub, it's a great space for team discussions and getting ready for that next mission. That said, I do think it could have used a little bit more life. Maybe some extra animations just to break up what is mostly static scenes, make the space feel a little bit more dynamic. Then the dungeons can start to feel a bit samey. The dark, minimalistic design makes them blend together, and I found myself wishing for just a dash more variety. Plus, I was also hoping the sword would visually evolve as you progress, but no such luck. It stays the same throughout, which was definitely a bit of a letdown. However, the cutscenes for me are where the game shines. Some are rendered with the in-game engine, while others go full anime, and it's the anime ones that look just absolutely awesome. The only noticeable downgrade for me came in a few of the in-engine cutscenes. The resolution here takes a hit, makes things a little bit blurry, but thankfully, I do think the narrative and kind of the soul of them is still there. So yeah, definitely big story moments have some nice, visually impactful design. Now let's talk about the audio, which definitely surprised me in a good way. Eternights goes above and beyond for a smaller indie title, featuring full voice acting in English, Japanese, and Korean, but I have to say, performances are really good. Voice acting just adds a lot of personality to these characters, making them feel more grounded and relatable, and that's impressive for a game of this scale. Beyond the voice work, then the sound design overall is solid. The soundscape isn't massive, but it does a good job of immersing you in the world. Weapon sound effects for me hit the right notes, and the soundtrack, well, I guess a little paint by numbers for the genre. It complements the story's emotional beats well enough. So overall, yeah, this one's genuinely surprised me, despite a few minor drawbacks like repetitive interactions in the latter stages. Really enjoyed the 11 hours I've spent with it. It's a well-balanced mix of highs and lows, but the gameplay is the standout. On top of that, the dynamic skill system that continuously evolves the action, and the team mechanics offer variety with unique abilities, plus the characters, some of the most charming I've encountered in recent memory. What's even more impressive then is that Eternights was largely developed by a small team, just one full-time developer for much of its creation, which makes the final result just all the more remarkable. Look, sure, it's not perfect, but you know what it is? It's fun, it's heartfelt, and it's absolutely just bursting with charm. So today, it's a good 7 out of 10 from me, and genre fans, I think you should absolutely take a look. Personally, in fact, I can't wait now to see what this studio does next. So will you be checking it out? Let me know in the comments down below. If you did enjoy this video as well, do me a favor, subscribe, helps out the channel a huge amount, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.